Okay, peace. Let me just make sure I got you. Okay, perfect. I think this is good. Yeah, good. Hey, Arcadia. Yes, welcome to quarter one of session one, technically, right? But, yes. Here, let me take my tablet out of my case. Should have done that earlier. Okay, yes. So we are going to get into the birth chart. That is yours. Obviously. And so what I was going to do was I was going to first look at your chart ruler, right? Then I was going to look at the aspects that your chart ruler is receiving. So I have my notes in front of me. Ta-da! And so you have, and it's very interesting because I went to the Social Security Administration office yesterday to get a new Social Security card. And this is where I did this work for you. I feel like it's so fitting because your chart ruler is Saturn, you know what I'm saying? And Saturn deals with institutions, organizations, government, structure, you know what I'm saying? Hierarchy, systems, you know what I'm saying? Like social security things, all that good stuff. Now, you have your Lilith conjunct your Saturn, you know what I'm saying? You probably don't know what I'm saying. And so Lilith is the aspect of us that's more like the wild, untamed aspect of our being, you know what I'm saying? This is also the aspect of us that's kind of wild. Well, I already said that. Dark. I meant to say dark, you know what I'm saying? They say that it wasn't just Adam and Eve, but it was first Adam and Lilith, you know what I'm saying? And Lilith wanted to be dominant as well. She didn't want to just be submissive, you know what I'm saying? She wanted to be able to freely express her energies and express her crazy femininity, because femininity, you know, is the opposite of order, you know what I'm saying? It's chaos, it's free flowing, it's just doing, you know what I'm saying? Like, the masculine energy is structure, you know what I'm saying? We need to show up with intellect and logic and rationality. But a woman can just sit there and be her natural self, and she will make everybody around go crazy, you know what I'm saying? So that's the beauty of the feminine energy. So I always break that down because I don't want to, you know, mislead you into thinking that the feminine is chaotic and that's just it, that's all. But it's a beautiful chaos. You know, it's like chaos, but it's orderly chaos, if that makes sense. Like emotion, right? Emotion is feminine and emotion is chaotic. The moon, right, is a feminine planet, and the moon is continuously fluctuating, continuously getting big and being waxing and waning, you know what I'm saying? Waxing and waning. The moon manifests in the stocks market, right? The up and down nature of the stocks market. The moon manifests in the waves, you know what I'm saying? And even in our body, through the liquids, you know, the circulation of the liquids. So the moon is the motion, the movement. And just to comment on the music, you know, I was thinking about your birth chart, and I was like, she has a lot of earth in her chart. My first inspiration was water. I wanted to play like a water soundtrack, you know what I'm saying? But then I realized, like, I should play both water and drums. So I found a soundtrack on the internet that's both water and drums. Water because of your 8th house and 12th house placements. You know what I'm saying? Because these are water houses, psychic houses, spiritual houses. So this is where the water was integrated. But the drums, because you have your most dominant element is earth. You have 11 placements in the earth sign. Your weakest, let's talk about the girl. Your weakest element is, well, let me see. Let me pick my poison. I wasn't planning to talk about this, but I'll talk about it. Okay, yeah, your weakest is fire. Like, your weakest element is fire. Let's see where Uranus is. Yeah, so your weakest element is fire, and your strongest element is earth. Now you have 11 placements in earth, yet you have two placements in air, 2 placements in fire, and 2 placements in water. So it's like these are elements you need to learn to integrate. You need to learn to integrate fire within your being. And what this means is the fire element deals with enthusiasm, zeal, a desire, an excitement, and enthusiasm and optimism to want to experience life. You know what I'm saying? I would recommend studying like Sagittarius, Aries, and Leo. And I would also recommend going online and looking up the rulerships. Like one of the ways, to give a brief example of my chart. I only have 2 placements in Earth. I have no water, you know what I'm saying? And so that's why I formulate the way I balance out my water element is by making relationships and connections, you know what I'm saying? But for me, Earth was an issue. For you, Earth is not an issue at all. And so I went online and I looked up what animals are ruled by Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn, you know what I'm saying? And then I started to learn from these animals. I started to connect with them in the spiritual plane and kind of take their energies or be inspired by them, you know what I'm saying, more so. And so yeah, look into fire, especially Aries, you know what I'm saying? Aries is cardinal fire. You have no Aries energy in your chart. Your 3rd house is empty. Your 3rd house is your house of Aries as well. So I recommend looking into the Ram and understanding like the reality. And this is very potent for you for what I'm about to talk about, because this is kind of me free flowing. As a Gemini, I do go with my intuition and where my mind takes me. But I do have notes prepared for you. But this synchronizes very well with like the note that I was going to disclose concerning your Saturn, Lilith conjunction. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much, this is what I wrote down. This is like the desire for freedom and to break away from social norms and traditions is deeply rooted, yet a fear rooted in security stops you. The desire for freedom is rooted, like your desire to want to be free and break away from society definitely is rooted in resources, you know what I'm saying, and your access to them. So the reason why I wrote this down is because you have your Saturn in Virgo in the 8th house, you know what I'm saying, which just indicates that so Saturn, before I even talk about that, Saturn is your chart ruler. So you need to learn to become Saturnian, you know what I'm saying? Like Lilith conjuncting your Saturn. Lilith is like the wild card, like I said, you know what I'm saying? Lilith is like the moon, you know what I'm saying? The darker energy of the moon. And when the thing about the moon and Saturn is they're opposing forces. And this is seen in the rulerships of these planets. I mean, the signs that these planets rule. So Saturn rules Capricorn, right? Yet the moon rules Cancer, right? And this is in opposition. So Capricorn is all about being reptilian and being cold-hearted, understanding that there is no emotion in business, you know what I'm saying? And being willing to, in a way, step on people's necks to get to the position that you need to be in. Now, with you having the 12th house, especially Mercury in the 12th house, these are thoughts that you're like, I don't know about that, chief, and I understand. And the thing is, you don't have to just go through the dark energies of Saturn. Like, you can also go through the light energies of Saturn, which is Aquarius. You know what I'm saying? Which I feel like you more resonate with. Aquarius, just to give a brief awareness and understanding of the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius, the masculine side of Saturn, is all about humanitarian acts, you know what I'm saying? It's all about altruistic action, about giving and serving and helping others, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, it's a value and of importance to understand the lessons that your sister sign can teach you, you know what I'm saying, Capricorn. As an Aquarius, as a Capricorn, you need to learn the significance of your, okay, I kind of went scatterbrain. But what I meant to say though was, it's a value as an Aquarius when you're tapping into that Aquarius energy, because from even being on the phone with you and you telling me like what motivate and what inspire you, you're pretty much breaking down a desire for Aquarian actions. You know, you were telling me that you wanted to attain resource. I think you have your Aquarius, your Venus. Yeah, you have. I'm pretty sure you have your Venus in Aquarius, right? You have your Venus in Aquarius in the second house. So Venus in Aquarius in the second house is like Robin Hood energy, like taking from the poor, taking from the rich and giving to the poor. You know what I'm saying? But then it's like you have a stellium in the 8th house. You have Mars in the 8th house, Jupiter in the 8th house, and Saturn in the 8th house. So what this means is your ability to connect with resources is important. Not so much personal resources, but public resources. It's important that you learn where all wealth comes from, and that's the earth, right? The Rockefellers, they got rich off of selling oil, right? Which is like the blood of the earth, you know what I'm saying? Very twisted, very, very ugly, for lack of a better term. Like, but that's how they got wealthy, though. They stripped the earth of her minerals, specifically her oils, and that's how they got wealthy. You know, then there's gold. Where does gold come from? Gold comes from the earth, you know what I'm saying? And so this is very much, I feel like, witchcraft. Let me explain what I mean by that, right? Because we have already had conversations where I was like, yeah, you know, with you having all these eighth house placements, you definitely should tap into the dark arts. I say dark arts, but dark is occult, right? Dark is hidden. Dark is unknown. The 8th house is dark. So the thing about the 7th house is it is the house where, you know, there's like a balance. It's the house of the other, you know what I'm saying, the partner. But then the 8th house is the house where, like, you go from a partner, right, and it's casual maybe, and you guys are dating, and you're like, yeah, that's my boo thing or whatever, and now it's like serious. This person has seen all the sides of you, you know what I'm saying, and it's kind of like deep, dark, not even dark, but just deep, intense emotions are anchored, and like you're comfortable and vulnerable in being yourself, you know what I'm saying. So with that being said, it's important that you having these 8th house placements beyond just learning to tap into the earth, right? Because you have your most prominent sign, your most prominent element is the earth element. So it's important that you connect with the earth, you know what I'm saying? It's important that you go out and every day you ground yourself for however long you may take. But in grounding yourself, it's not, it has to be 8th house. It has to be deep. It has to be emotional, you know what I'm saying? It has to be magical. And that's what magic is. Magic is just the ability of utilizing one's emotions constructively and consciously, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so that's what you need to learn to do. You need to learn to connect with the elements of the earth, you know what I'm saying? These aren't real trees, but like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? You need to learn to connect with the trees, you know what I'm saying? For sure. That's what it's all about. I would also recommend, like, the music I'm playing in the background for you, I would recommend, like, familiarizing yourself with those vibrations, you know what I'm saying? Familiarizing yourself with those vibrations. Learning that, because the 8th house, it deals with public resources. It deals with resources that we all deserve access to. And so it's important for you to get comfortable with all the resources that are out there for you to tap into, and for you to become resourceful, and for you to leverage anything and everything, you know what I'm saying? It's important for you to understand also the ancestral configurations of the society and the world that we live in the sense that they did come and slaughter, like, the indigenous, you know what I'm saying? And they, like, yeah, you know, they took away, like, the harmony and the peace that was there, and They took what the indigenous were practicing and technically like perverted it, flipped it upside down, and then used that which we were using to enslave us. You know what I'm saying? I'm an indigenous spirit. That's why I say we, us, I, whatever. It's important to be aware of that. And then from that awareness, milking the cow for every single drip of milk, you know what I'm saying? And like the eighth house is somewhat savage, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a savage house. So it's okay for you to operate in that awareness of like, and it's even beyond you, because like the eighth house deals with ancestors, you know what I'm saying? And it deals with the dead, you know what I'm saying? So that's another way of learning to tap into your resources, learning to connect to your ancestral roots, and learning the wealth that they were associated with, and then connecting to that wealth, you know what I'm saying? Like, you were telling me that you wanted to learn, for instance, your mother tongue, you know what I'm saying? And then once you learn what your mother tongue is, like, that's what I would recommend, like, tapping in specifically with that practice and spirituality, you know what I'm saying, of your ancestors. I think you should also have, like, an ancestral altar, you know what I'm saying? Learn about who your ancestors were and then create an ancestral altar. And like that can be one of your magical practices, praying to them, you know what I'm saying? It's very interesting because Saturn is your chart ruler, but I was just talking about how Lilith is conjunct your Saturn. Because Saturn is like the oppressor, the critic, you know what I'm saying? And I'll talk about that as well, you know, being the critic. But yeah, right now we're talking about Saturn being the opposer. Saturn is like the opposer. He puts you down. He restricts you. He limits you. He tries to control you. But then Lilith is like the one that just the wild child. You know what I'm saying? You know that song? She's like, I am my mother's savage daughter. Yeah, pretty much that's like Lilith. You know what I'm saying? I am my mother's savage daughter. Okay, so this is my notes. I'm like Saturn, you have Saturn in Virgo at 27 degrees, and this is your chart ruler. And then I put the material, Saturn is the material boundary, you know what I'm saying? He's considered to be the one who rules all things material and physical. Beyond him is Uranus, right? And you have Uranus sextile Saturn. So this is like, Uranus is the future, whereas Saturn is the past, you know what I'm saying? Saturn in general is time, but Uranus doesn't deal with time. Uranus is the father beyond time, you know what I'm saying? Saturn is the father of time, you know what I'm saying? And so you have Uranus and Saturn sextiling each other, which just means that they are harmoniously collaborating energetically. Uranus is in water element, you know what I'm saying? Uranus is in Scorpio, meanwhile Saturn is in Virgo. So this is what I wrote down. This is essentially the ability to see the opportunity in the traditional things. So this is Saturn, right? Saturn deals with tradition, deals with what is normal and what is expected of you, what you should conform to, you know what I'm saying? But simultaneously, this is like a balance between being able to see the value of tradition, but simultaneously being able to integrate with the new and innovative patterns or things being presented. So this is kind of like a bridge between the new and the old, you know what I'm saying? You're kind of like a person who walks between the two worlds, you know what I'm saying? Like you may have elderly ancestral energy, but you still have this ability and capacity to connect with the younger generation, you know what I'm saying? Which is definitely something I think you should leverage. And so what this means is that even though you may be familiar with and you may try primarily to operate, because Saturn is your chart ruler, so tradition may hold a greater burden upon you than innovativeness and future and the escape into the freedom, the free world. This is like being familiar of traditional wealth methods, but being willing to adapt modern ways of making money. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So another way of explaining this aspect is just like finding new ways to do old things. You know what I'm saying? Because Saturn is what works, what's confined. I mean, yeah, what works and what's tangible. But then Uranus, hold on. Yeah, Uranus is innovation, uh, like the trailblazer, you know, the pioneer, willing to go into new spaces and new places, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, okay, so I did want to talk about that energy between Saturn and Lilith. So you have Saturn in Virgo, and we'll talk about that in another session though, because yeah. So right now we're just going to talk about the houses and the aspects. So Saturn is the planet, as I've already explained thoroughly. It's the planet of structure, boundary, governing, all that good stuff, you know what I'm saying? That's Saturn. But Lilith is the one who desires to break free, you know what I'm saying? The one who desires to live outside of like law and order and structure. So it's like there's this struggle of wanting to break free and wanting to break away, but simultaneously, especially like because you have your Saturn and Neptune. Is it a square? Yeah, they're squaring each other. Especially because you have Saturn and Neptune square, there's this internal conflict that happens between the dreamer, which is, you know, Neptune, the one who fantasizes and idealizes, yet it is prohibited from fully expressing itself because, alright, this is what I wrote down. So Saturn is squaring Neptune. So I wrote down, these are the individuals capable of seeing great dreams and ideals, yet in pursuing their aspiration, they fail to realize in order to succeed, they truly need to believe in their ability to succeed and truly handle their fears and self-doubts, right? So the first part of this, I'm talking about Saturn. I'm talking about Neptune, the ability to dream big and idealize. Yet, in the second, I'm talking about Saturn, this fear that comes about, this restriction, this limitation of like, you know what, I know what I want to do, but I feel like if I try to do it, like there's this boundary, there's this restriction, there's this limitation. The thing about Neptune, like I'm literally just coming from a 12th house transit, because the sun was just going through my 12th house. I love the energy of Neptune. Neptune conjuncts my moon, so of course I love the energy of Neptune. In astrology, Neptune is considered the planet that gives with ease, with increasing goal. Oh, why are you messaging me, Tess? my apologies. Distracting me, dog. I gotta check her messages. Just gotta check her messages, just to make sure it's not important. Okay. I asked for info. Okay. Just send me some things about artificial intelligence. Good to know, Tess. Good to know. Anyways, as I was saying though, I leverage the heck out of that 12th house transit by every day working on building in the astral plane. So Neptune is the most sensitive planet, right? It is the sensitivity of the astral world, of the spiritual plane, you know what I'm saying? And it also deals with the imagination. When Saturn is squaring Neptune, this is like one's imagination. Hold on, give me a sec. Okay, I didn't even need to do that. I changed by itself. But yeah, so Neptune is the imagination, the idealer, the idealer, the fantasizer, the dreamer, that which can connect to a utopian society where everything is beautiful and everything is wonderful. You know what I'm saying? And in your study, I'm pretty sure you came across the concept of mind over matter, the fact that everything in the physical world comes from the spiritual plane, you know what I'm saying, or the mental plane. So the thing is, when Neptune conjuncts, when Neptune aspects or is being aspected by Saturn, this is like using your imagination against yourself. Rather than using your imagination and your ability to visualize to free yourself, you use it to create restrictions upon yourself. And the thing is, if everything must first happen in the spiritual world before it can happen in the physical world, it just indicates that you're creating a lot of things in the spiritual world that are going to play out in the physical world as boundaries, restrictions, and limitations. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, I'm gonna move forward though, because at the end I do give a suggestion on what I believe you should do as, you know, the next step. Okay, so okay, we pretty much talked about the aspects. We talked about the aspect to your Uranus, you know what I'm saying? We talked about the aspect to your Neptune. Talked about the aspect to your Lilith. The critic contradicts the dreamer. Yeah, so Saturn can be very critical because it's the planet of reality, what's realistic and what's grounded. So the aspect between Neptune and the square between Neptune and Saturn is the critic criticizing or shutting down the dreamer, which is Neptune. And what you need to do, right, this is just the first step, you know what I'm saying? And then after this, we'll do some more work together. And this is a recommendation, a very suggested recommendation. I recommend you map your belief system, especially those revolving around public resources, you know what I'm saying? When it comes to public resources, you know what I'm saying, and just resources in general, what's the first initial feeling that you get? You know what I'm saying? Is it a feeling of harmony or is it a feeling of fear? And write it all down. Write all those beliefs that you have revolving around resources. And then look around your reality and look for examples of how that manifests and how that has manifested. You know what I'm saying? But yes, resources. You know what I'm saying? This is 8th house, 2nd house energy, Scorpio, Taurus energy. And once you anchor that understanding, you know what I'm saying, then from there we'll go on to our second session, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, pretty much I started off by saying that you should definitely tap into ancestral magic, and in general magic, period. Because the thing about magic is it deals with the elements, it deals with nature. And magic, you know, it was demonized because that was where we were getting our power from. It is where we get our power from till this day. Like, no one can say that we did not come from the earth. So then, why is someone going to say that we are not supposed to interact with the earth? Like, that's a psyop, you know what I'm saying? Literally a psyop to enslave our... And I know you know this, of course, but it's definitely a psyop to stop us from flowing. Because they took practices that we have been practicing for so... Like, I wasn't watching Moana, but I was listening to that song, You're Welcome, on YouTube. And I was just amazed at, like, how beautiful their culture was and is, but how much, like, distortion was brought to it, even though that wasn't necessary, because those people are already living in peace. You know what I'm saying? They didn't need any saving or any conquest, but it happened. So it is very much about tapping back into your roots and just remember that the 8th house is the house of death and ancestors. So connecting with your ancestry is indeed very important for you. And learning to leverage your practical skills, which is Saturn, and applying it to your dreams, right? Rather than using Saturn to shun your dreams and aspirations, you should first understand that the critic within you needs to conform with the concept that all is magical, you know what I'm saying? And spirituality is a real thing, first and foremost. And it's like you gotta make that abstract philosophy concrete, you know what I'm saying? And this comes about through study, you know what I'm saying? I recommend you studying. And I have books I can send you too. I have a book on practical witchcraft, you know what I'm saying? I have over 600 books on the occult and magic. So I got a bunch of books I can send you. And these are PDFs. I also have physical books. I have a bunch of physical books too, you know what I'm saying? I have a 9th house stellium, so when I got into astrology, I was like, yes. But then as I dove deeper into it, I started to learn how to align, and I started to learn what I need to bring to myself. And so that's why I have a bunch of books. And that's why I have a platform to teach, because 9th house is all about the broadcasting of one's opinion or one's philosophy and understanding. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's important that you learn to do that. To create vision boards, even, you know what I'm saying? Make your Neptune energies as tangible as possible, you know what I'm saying? Because the thing about a square, this is a triangle, not a square, but yeah, this square, okay. The thing about a square is it's Martian energy, you know what I'm saying? It's Mars. Oof. So what that means is that it's an energy of strife and struggle, you know what I'm saying? This isn't going to be something easy, but it's going to be something you need to integrate with. Because if you don't integrate with it, it'll continue to be a source of chaos and discord for you. But you need to learn to bridge the practical energies and the dream, the fantasy, and the ideal. Learning how to use what you have, what's tangible, what you can hold, to get to what you don't have yet, you know what I'm saying? That's important for you to do. And yeah, I would recommend, like I said, writing your ideals down. I have a bunch of, let me see if I can show it to you. No, I don't know if I'll be able to. I have a bunch of, you know what I'm saying, notebooks. Like, this is just one of like 20 or something like that. So, you know, this is what I do. On top, I'll be like, the vision, right? Like, the IVI, whatever. And then I'll just write things, you know what I'm saying, that I want, and I write it as if it already is happening, because what I'm doing is I'm programming things into the world, the spiritual world. And this aligns because for me, Neptune and Saturn not conjunct, they trine. So this is not per se a difficult thing for me to do, because it's a trine, it's a gift, you know what I'm saying? It flows and it comes easy for me. But for you, it's a square, so it's not going to come that easy for you, and there's going to be a needing, which is why the first thing I recommended was mapping out your belief system. I would recommend you going beyond just mapping out your belief systems regarding resources, but I feel like that's where we should definitely start, because your chart reveals that is something that's important, something that you desire to break free from. You're not trying to break free from resources per se, but you're trying to break away from the lack of resources, you know what I'm saying, which is Saturn, because Saturn is the planet of poverty, the planet of, like I said, restriction, limitation, feeling like you have blockages in the area. So that's what you need to do first. Disclose what your belief systems are. But yeah, and then once you do that, you know, with your Neptune, Saturn sextile, I would recommend finding new innovative ways. Like, Uranus is the trailblazer, right? As I said, like the one that goes where others have never been before. So be open and receptive to unconventional and untraditional ways, for sure. Where it's like integrating the past with the future, you know what I'm saying? But like learning to, from the present, move forward into the future, because I feel like when Uranus and Saturn sextile each other, there can be like this comfort where it's like not wanting to take action into disrupting the flow of things, because kind of being okay with just, because Uranus is kind of an intangible sign as well. I mean, planet, you know what I'm saying? Kind of just sitting in the back, and this is Neptune energy somewhat as well. And being okay with just idealizing the things that could happen, but not actually going in and getting your hands messy, if that makes sense. But someone just being comfortable with being far away from the action, so that knowing that you're safe and secure. But the thing about that is Saturn is the planet of self-preservation, you know what I'm saying? It does deal with safety and all that good stuff, but you should always understand that Saturn, although it's the planet of safety, security, it's also the planet of boundary and restriction and limitation. Meaning that a lot of the times, due to our fear of losing something, or our fear, I'll just say fear, our fear, we hold ourselves back. It's like sometimes you really gotta take a leap of faith. But yeah, that's it, that's all. We'll definitely do our next session after you map out your belief systems. Alright, peace.